It's hardest. I'm not a brush connoisseur, but I don't think this is the best brush that anyone could use.
Welcome to the first ever episode of Slow Burn Beauty. My name is Bella, and this series is for people who are overwhelmed by the beauty industry constantly telling us to buy. To that we say, buy. If you can relate, keep watching because Slow Burn Beauty is for you. Look, I get it. Beauty brands are in a rush because they have to keep up with each other. But I think that we as consumers shouldn't be rushed, especially when our hard-earned cash is on the line. So let's chill out a bit and take the heat down a notch as I share my nuanced experience with different products after testing them as extensively as I possibly can. Pressure off, slow burn on. Our topic for this month's video is makeup brushes. I thought brushes would be a great opener for Slow Burn Beauty because they are tools that you invest in for the long term and some of them don't come cheap. Also, a lot of the cons or drawbacks only come out after months of using them. In order to judge these brushes fairly, we have to decide on a set of criteria. Of course, price is a very important criterion. Brush material is important as well because it can determine longevity of the brush. And a separate quality that's very important to me is bristle quality or texture because that's a part of the brush that actually comes in contact with your face. Ease of use is important as well, not just using with different kinds of products, but also when washing and drying. And then we will rate each brush based on its overall ranking in the tier list. But as a surprise, we also have a wildcard criteria, the husband test. So I'm gonna ask Ludwig to try each brush on his face and see which one he likes or doesn't like. Starting with my least favorite brush, this Sephora number 66 foundation brush, which is discontinued by the way. They have a newer version out. Price-wise, it's pretty affordable, especially when you compare it to the original price of the discontinued brush. The bristle quality is pretty good, especially for the price. The bristles are densely packed and short, but they don't give you any scratchy texture. It's really soft. As for the brush material, it has a metal ferrule. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but I hope it's right.
Ferrule.
No! God, please, no! No!
And the handle is plastic. If you're clumsy like me, watch out because the metal ferrule part is pretty flimsy. I dropped it once and it completely changed the shape of the brush. As for ease of use, I have to say, cleaning and drying this brush is a pain in the ass. And sometimes it develops a smell.
Ew! What the fuck?
Since it takes so long to dry. This kind of brush also has a learning curve, so prepare yourself if you're looking to buy it. Saturate the brush with foundation and then blend it onto your face, like so. I do like the bristle shape though and the density of the bristles. It does help spread the foundation really easily and quickly. As for the longevity of this brush, it has lasted pretty well for 10 months. There's no fraying or anything of the bristles, they're all intact.
It's hard as dicks. I'm not a brush connoisseur, but I don't think this is the best brush that anyone could use.
Overall, this brush is nice to use, but the clincher for me is how long it takes to wash and dry. For a lazy girl like me, that's enough reason for me to not ever reach for it, especially since I have other brushes in my arsenal. So unfortunately, I have to put it in B tier. Moving along, we have everybody's favorite cheap makeup brush brand. You knew it was coming. It's OVW. Basically, this makeup brush brand needs no introduction because you've probably heard of it once or twice from your favorite beauty content creator. But why?
Why?
Because of the price. These brushes are unbeatable in terms of how cheap they are. But like they say, cheap comes at a cost as well. Bristle quality is okay, but I did notice that they tend to fray easily and get distorted easily. And they also tend to lose their bristles quite easily. I'll be doing my makeup with an OVW brush and one of the bristles will just fall off onto my makeup. Because these brushes can be a bit scratchy, I'm just really careful about using them on my under eyes. I go for patting motions instead of dragging motions. Speaking of under eyes, this video is sponsored by Saipo. A lot of you ask me about under eye care. So Saipo, my brand, just launched something that can help with that. Introducing True Do Eye Mask. It's a pair of silicone eye masks that you can use to help depuff, hydrate, and plump the under eye area. To use it, just apply your favorite skincare products to your under eye, let them get tacky for a few seconds, and then apply the eye mask. Leave them on for 10 to 20 minutes, peel off gently, and you're golden. And the best part is, it's reusable. If you'd like to try the eye mask yourself, I'll leave the link in the description box. Now back to the video. Moving on to the brush material. Again, these have a metal ferrule, synthetic bristles, but the material for the handle is not my favorite. It's made of wood. Why? Because if you soak wood in water repeatedly, it tends to crack. And you'll see that some of my brushes have already cracked. In terms of ease of use though, these are really easy to wash and dry. Maybe it's because of the size of the brushes, but these are some of the quickest drying brushes I have. Now let's talk about longevity. I've had these brushes for 2 flippin' years. That's a long time, and considering all that I've put them through, they're in pretty good condition. Even though some of them have cracked over time because of repeated washing, it's just a cosmetic issue and they're perfectly usable.
It is but a scratch.
Softer than the previous one. As far as scratchiness goes, this one's scratchier than the previous one. It's a solid meh.
All things considered, I think OPW is pretty solid, so I'll put them in B tier. They're great for beginners, and at least you know they'll last for at least as long as mine have with proper care. But of course, you do have to deal with the cons that I mentioned. So I consider these a springboard to better quality brushes. Moving along, we have the Vice Cosmetics Foundation Brush. If you guys will recall, this was launched along with their Dream Focus Foundation. The price of this brush is 295 pesos, which is not exactly cheap, but in the grand scheme of things, it's still pretty affordable in my opinion. The bristle quality and texture, I think, is the main draw of this kind of brush. It's super soft and has a slightly domed shape, which is great for blending in foundation. And it has never been scratchy or pokey. And over time, the bristles have pretty much kept their shape as well. As for the brush material, it's pretty similar to the Sephora brush. As you guys can see, as a clumsy girl, again, I have dented it because I did drop this brush. As for ease of use, this brush does take longer to wash and dry, but still not as long as the Sephora foundation brush, so it's fine. But I do think that this has less of a learning curve than the Sephora brush. I've dotted foundation on my face, then blended it out with this brush, and I've also put foundation directly on the brush and then blended it on my face. Both ways work pretty well. As for longevity, it's still in mint condition, so it's performed really well. Overall, I like the performance of blending out foundation, but because it's a little bit harder to wash and dry, I do not reach for it as much as my other foundation brushes. So I'm putting this brush in B tier.
Oh, this one's smooth. It's like the first one, but smoother and softer. Maybe a half thumb up.
Next, we have one of the OG brush brands, Real Techniques. At least OG for me. I remember watching Sam and Nick's videos on YouTube and super wanting all the brushes that they had. Now that I do, I will tell you what I think about them. Price-wise, I will say that these are not the cheapest brushes in my collection, but it's probably because this is a UK brand. As for bristle quality, these are not the softest brushes that I have, but the quality of the bristles is good. There's never been any fraying and the hairs haven't fallen out on me. But there is one thing that I did notice about the bristles. Because they tend to be a little bit more firm, they can be scratchy at times, so they're not as comfortable to use. But in terms of brush material, Real Techniques is killing the game. I really like the way that they've constructed the brush. It has this unibody made of metal, so there's no like short metal ferrule and then like a different material for the handle. I think that it makes it really, really durable. But the older versions of the Real Techniques brushes have this rubber handle that I don't really like. Initially, it had like this weird sticky film that I had to wash off repeatedly in order to get rid of.
Real sticky.
I do like the newer version a lot better because it doesn't have that grippy, rubbery handle. In terms of ease of use, these are very easy to wash and dry. Because they are firmer, they do work better when picking up cream products, which is what I really love to use these brushes for. Especially contour, my favorite contour brush is from Real Techniques. As you can see, after 2 years, they are still in perfect condition. They are really good longevity-wise. Overall, I'm putting Real Techniques in A tier because you do get what you pay for, and what you're paying for is partly the name, but also the quality of the materials and the longevity.
It sounds as if I'm the Simon Cowell brushes because of how strict I am when rating these brushes, but I know jack shit about brushes. That's some Real Technique right there. Yeah, I feel like this one's the best. Maybe it's 2 half thumbs up.
Next, we have these brushes, which I found on Shopee as well, but they do look very suspiciously similar to the Makeup by Ariel Morphe brush set. Price-wise, these brushes are very affordable, 254 pesos for a set of 10. But the whole reason that I bought this set is because of this unique highlighter brush. For bristle quality and texture, these are super soft, but they can fray at times. Like I already have a few brushes that are coming apart a bit. For the brush material, I do like it. It looks like it has a unibody structure like the Real Techniques ones, but it has a metal ferrule coated in paint, and then it has a plastic handle. As for ease of use, these are quite easy to use when you are working with powder products because they are so soft. And some cream products as well, as long as the coverage area is small. But that's not such a huge issue.
That ain't no problem. Huh? That ain't no problem.
You can always apply the product on the back of your hand first and then pick it up with a brush. Longevity-wise, I bought these in October 2022 and they have lasted very well. Since the ferrule is coated with paint, I was expecting it to peel. But they have not so far, and that is because I do not soak the brush past the ferrule. I definitely reach for these brushes when I'm using powder products and some cream products like concealer. So I will be putting this in A tier, especially considering how cheap they are.
This is the softest so far. It's as soft as the second one, but not as prickly. Yeah, maybe the same as the previous one. 2 half thumbs up.
But I will say you cannot do a complete look with this set, which is what the next set will give you. Finally, we've come to my most favorite brushes of all time. And the first one is the Lovely Cosmetics brush set. Why do I love it so much? Price is one of the reasons. It's very reasonable. You get an entire set of brushes for 1,500 pesos. Another thing that makes me reach for these brushes very often is the bristle quality and texture.
He's so fluffy, I'm gonna die!
These are super soft, equally as soft as the yellow set of brushes that I just showed you. And because of that, there's never any scratchiness when using these brushes. The brush material is pretty good as well. It has a metal ferrule and then a wooden handle. As for ease of use, it depends what product you're using it with. And that is because if your bristles are soft, it takes more work to work in cream products. But I'd rather have a soft brush than a bristly, hard, scratchy brush. My favorites of the set are LC11 for peach corrector and concealer and LC02 for foundation. My least favorite brush in the set is the contour brush. I prefer using it for powder contour. I don't really like it when using it with cream contour because it covers a larger area on your face, so it's not really good for doing fine or precise contour work. I prefer the Real Techniques brush for that.
Oh my gosh, my favorite one!
Now let's talk about the longevity of these brushes because I've seen mixed reviews. These were launched, I think, December 2022, so it's been around 9 months. And I've never had any issues with cracking or anything like that, so they are still in mint condition. For the overall rating, I'm giving these an automatic S tier. I really like the selection of fine or precise brushes that are in the set. You can do eye looks, you can do precise contour work, and you can do an entire look with this set.
That's nice. It's like just one whole thumb up.
And now for the last brush in this video, the Picasso Brush. But unfortunately, they do not ship to the Philippines, so I had a harder time acquiring them. But then I saw this on Shopee, so I wanted to give them a try. Each brush was 204 pesos when I bought it. As for the bristle quality and texture, it's among my favorites because it's very, very soft, dense, but never pokey or scratchy. As for the brush material, it has a metal ferrule and a wooden handle. As for ease of use, by far, this is one of the most easy to use foundation brushes that I've ever had. It's quick to wash, quick to dry, and very intuitive to use. The flat, slightly domed bristle shape makes it really easy to apply thin layers of foundation.
Just a touch. Just a touch.
As for longevity, I bought these 8 months ago and they are still in mint condition. So they're doing excellent in that regard. And this is by far the foundation brush that I reach for the most. For the overall rating, these are an automatic S tier for me.
You're goddamn right.
This one's mid, I feel like. Maybe a half thumb up. If you don't know what the half thumb looks like, it's like this.
And that is it for this month's edition of Slow Burn Beauty. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any violent reactions or just something you want to share, comment down below. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!